Alright, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Box Podcast. BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. This is another segment here on Occult Fridays. We're spending 1 or 2 days a week discussing things just, related to the occult, anything associated with magic, mysticism, paranormal activity, anything of that nature. And also, we did some more theoretical stuff in the past, covering the work of Dr. Michael Shermer on the science of good and evil. But today, let's talk about something a little more specific, and something definitely paranormal. I was watching this video on Facebook that's been shared a lot, but it's talking about how the hour between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. is the highest chance to experience paranormal activity. It's saying that paranormal behavior among spiritual forces is strongest between the hours of 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. Most specifically, 3:33 in the morning. That's right, 3:33. 3 a.m. and 33 minutes is the exact time in your time zone when paranormal activity will be the strongest. What is all this about? Well, let's discuss. Well, they say the number 333 because they claim that it is making a mockery of the Holy Trinity in Christianity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Well, it's like, and there are also a lot of other things that use the number 3. Like, someone was once talking about this when they were saying that the number 3 and the number 7 are just sort of recurring things in human culture, whether we want to have the 7 wonders of the world, or things like the Trinity, or maybe in something like, Hinduism or other Eastern spiritualities, we would have something like existence, consciousness, and bliss, or something like that. There are a lot of groupings into the numbers 3 and 7. But yeah, they say that 333 is a mockery of the Holy Trinity, and that's when the evil spirits wants to mock that sort of tradition. So that is when the hour, and down to the minute, really, that minute is the strongest amount of time when you're most likely to have sort of a paranormal experience, or it just means that spiritual forces are most active at 3 o'clock in the morning to 4 a.m. Specifically, 3:33 is the most, kind of like the zenith of paranormal activity. What do you think about this? Is this true? Have you ever had a paranormal experience? And I talked about the definition of paranormal when I was covering the work of Dr. Shermer, because he just says there is no paranormal, there is only normal. And stuff like that is really just sort of like academic double talk. Paranormal just means outside the realm of normal science, meaning that it comes from things like storytelling and passed down from person to person, as opposed to collected through means of traditional scientific study. That's all it is. It just means it comes from things like stories and folklore and, not associated with the scientific method on a very, very general level. And this is just a term that we use in our daily life. What do you think about this, though? Have you ever had a experience at 3 o'clock in the morning between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m.? More importantly, how do these things originate into our culture? Why 3 o'clock in the morning? Is it really just a mockery of the Holy Trinity? Well, what about all these societies that are not Christian? Would they also be experiencing that? And we also have time zones, right? So are the spirits just moving across all time zones? And, it's always going to be 3 a.m. somewhere, so it's going to be like, 3:33 will always be, the spirits just kind of go in a circle around the earth. Like, are they orbiting? And this is when they pick up the most activity? Well, what my sort of hypothesis about all of this was, at 3 a.m., in most places in the world, it's almost always dark. There might be a few exceptions like Greenland and Svalbard, but it's like, at this time in the morning, for most places, there is darkness outside. And my personal hypothesis with something like this is just, it goes back to the origin of darkness and light, that people sort of associate darkness with evil because you just can't see what's around you. You aren't aware of your surroundings. You aren't aware of what is there. And then, it leads to a lot of, destructive things. I mean, whether somebody getting hurt or you hear a noise and you don't know where it's coming from. And there could be there are all sorts of things that could happen when it's dark out as opposed to when it's light out. We even have, an expression in English when someone commits a crime in broad daylight. It means they can't hide in the dark, so they're just sort of, not only being fearless, but also being somewhat sociopathic about it. So, that is sort of my hypothesis about why we have this time from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. recorded as, the most dense activity for paranormal behavior. And 333, well, it's almost always dark outside. And I just think the metaphors of darkness and light are just that. It is just a pure metaphor thing about how the light is good and the darkness is evil. I once referred to darkness as evil, and somebody got really mad at me once, and this turned into a giant argument, one of the largest arguments I've ever had about anything paranormal or spiritual, just about how darkness is not evil. And I'm like, yeah, okay, when you have things that are like colors and shades like black, I mean, that's not evil. I mean, this is the Black Box Podcast, Black Box Radio. That's not evil. Yes, I'm very well aware of that. It's just metaphorical. It is just, it's totally a metaphor for what I just kind of described, that in the light, people are aware of their surroundings, and in the dark, it is more difficult to be aware of your surroundings because you can't see everything immediately. It's much easier for something to hide, or if there is some sort of noise or something breaks, or you even get an eerie feeling at night, you can't just look around and see what's there. It's like, so that's what I think a lot of these paranormal things come from. People just not being that aware of their surroundings in the dark. And at 3:33 in the morning, in almost all places around the world, it is going to be dark outside. So I definitely could understand why somebody would be composing a sort of statement like this, that the hour between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. and 3:33 in the morning is also the most dense time for paranormal activity and spiritual activity, whatever you would like to refer to it as. And why not 3:33 in the afternoon? I mean, wouldn't that be the same thing? Well, most places around the world still seem to use the 24-hour clock, what Americans call military time. I mean, a lot of people really just use that daily. So for them, it's 15:33, and well, that might not be the exact mockery of the Holy Trinity. Maybe if it was 14:53 or something, then you might actually have a leg to stand on. But 15:33, that doesn't even come to mind about anything. Well, that's kind of my short little spiel on this. I knew this would be a very short upload. But what do you think, though, about paranormal activity? Do you think that it exists, first of all? And do you think that this is more likely to happen at 3 o'clock in the morning, the hour between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m.? And do you think that the hour 3:33, as a mockery of the Holy Trinity, is the largest time for spiritual activity and paranormal activity? If you have anything to say at all, I would love to hear from you. Please drop a comment below and we can discuss things a little more. Do you have any good stories that are associated with things like ghosts or the paranormal? And do you have anything to contribute? Please drop a comment below. I want to hear from you. And until next time.